Hello everybody, this is Uncle Larry B, and today we're going to be taking the PCV valve out of my 2016 Chevrolet Suburban 5.3 liter V8. So we've seen a lot of videos on YouTube, but none specifically for the 2016 Chevy Suburban 5.3 liter V8. The process is relatively simple except for pulling the PCV valve cover off so you can unscrew it with a socket. So here we go, and here's a picture of the engine, and we're going to start here in just a second. First thing we have to do is unhook this hose clamp from the air box, which contains the engine air filter, to the engine cover, this front engine cover. The second thing we have to do is take off a second O-ring cover from the throttle body. And the third thing we got to do is unplug that hose and this hose from the top center cover. So here we go. Actually, to remove these hose clamps, you can use a screwdriver, or you can use one of these hex head screwdriver type things, and I prefer the hex head. So here we go. Let's unscrew this cover. We'll loosen it a little bit more. There we go. Let's see if we can wiggle this free. There we go. That's off. And now we're going to go up here and release this cover from the throttle body to this box. So we'll put right down there. Okay, so that's loose, so that should come off. Now these two hoses, one of these you push up from the bottom, and the other one you push down from the top. So let's see which one goes which way. Okay, the one on the driver's side, push up from the bottom, and it comes off. The passenger side, push down from the top, and it comes off. So that's off, and this side is off. And this is loose, and this other one is loose, so we should be able to pull this top piece off pretty easily. There we go. The top piece is off, and now we can see our throttle body. So, by the way, I'm getting up and down off a stool because I'm not quite tall enough to reach all the components of this engine on the Suburban because it sets a little high. Okay, so now what do we have under here? I believe on the passenger side, this is the oil sending unit, and on the driver's side, running at about a 45-degree oblique angle, is the PCV valve. And this has got a little cover over the PCV valve that we have to lift up, and that was the difficulty yesterday, trying to lift that thing up. Okay, going to use one of my yellow cable ties. Okay, so that got that out of the way a little bit. What we learned is that the cover over the PCV valve has this type of release mechanism on it, where you have to press in on this area to be able to release it, and that's what I wasn't doing. So we have to decide which side this is on so we can press the release mechanism over here on the PCV valve. And we sprayed it with a little penetrating fluid to make sure that it would actually come loose. So here we go, we're gonna try her. Hasn't cooled down very much, but let me see. Oh, it came off. It came off, hallelujah. The clip is on the back side of it that you gotta push. It came off. Hallelujah, sister, hallelujah, brother. And of course, my fingers are burned, but it's a small price to pay. Well, folks, I finally got it out. Here it is. This is the old PCV valve. I just soaked it in gasoline and then dried it off, and listen. It shakes, it rattles, and it rolls. So I think it's still good. So I'm gonna save the $25 I spent, put the new PC valve in my other truck. So I think I'm gonna put this one back in, put a little oil on the threads, and then put her back in with a 24mm socket. 24mm socket. And here we go. Okay, so this is just a little extra little can of oil I had laying around. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this oil on the threads. So get some oil on my finger and put oil on these threads. Oil on the O-ring. Okay, there we go. Dang, I always make a mess. Whenever I'm working, I always seem to make a mess. Oh well. The hole where this goes is back down in here, and you'll be able to see it right there. That silver lined hole is where the PCV valve screws back in. And we'll have it in there in just a second. And remember, since this PCV valve is only plastic, we don't want to torque it in there. So we'll just put it in this hole, finger tight. It feels like that's going in better. Burning my knuckles off, but who cares? Who cares? So we're gonna put the socket back in it, the socket extension back in the socket. And we're gonna flip it the other way. So we're gonna go righty-tighty. Okay, that feels pretty snug. I'm not gonna tighten her up beyond all tightness. Let me use my little rag, which fell on the floor, to to wipe off some of the spray back here. Now we're going to put this PCV valve cover back on it. So there's the end of the PCV valve. Here's the cover. And remember, when you take it off, you have to push on this thing on the back. It's like a release. But let's see if it'll click on here. Yep, clicked on. Okay, so that baby clicked on. We're gonna cut this little cable tie that we used to hold the other wires out of the way. Okay, so we should be pretty much good to go here. So that PCV valve is back in place. Okay, getting back up here. I'm going to wipe off any excess oil or spray from behind the PCV valve. Just make sure it's dry. Okay, so finally, the PCV valve is changed. The rate limiting step of this is that little release on the back of the PC valve cover. That's the rate limiting step. That's the thing that's going to slow you down. Everything else is a piece of cake. Okay, let's put her back together. Okay, I'm going to put this front engine cover back on the Suburban, and let's see if we can wrap this job up. Okay, so here we go. We put this part over toward the air filter. This part goes on the throttle body. We'll slide that on the throttle body. There, I think that's on perfect. And we'll see if we can tighten this up. Okay, that's on. Let's put this back on, and it should just click on. Remember, this was the rate limiting step with the cover of the PVC valve. So remember, these things are important. You either push up or down on them to release them, to get them off of their plastic clips. There we go, that's on tight. Now we just got to put the cover on the air filter. So let's look here. Yep, that looks good back in there. Everything looks good. We got our hoses reconnected. Now, just have to put this little sucker back on, which should be a piece of cake. Every time I call something a piece of cake, it turns out to be a nightmare, but hopefully, since I've had this off today, there, that's better. That's much better. So now you can see it's tighter. Tight, pretty much tight up against here.
So let's turn this, and this is, I think, a 5/16. Works better than a screwdriver on these C-clamps, or circle clamps rather. Here we go. This is clamped. That's on. Its partner on the other side is on. And the round clamp around the throttle body is on. So I think we are good to go. Thank you for your patience in this video. I try to show things in this video that are realistic. Other people sort of skip areas and make it seem like it's very, very easy, but sometimes it's a pain in the ass. So maybe I'm just not as bright as the other guys or as strong, but in any event, you've just seen a 78-year-old man change his PCV valve, and I appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up button and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.